Good music, good day on a Monday. Dave Spano, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. How are you?
We're great. You know, Packers eked it out, so we're always happy about
They did eke it out. Man, that'd have been ugly, right? Because all those North Division teams coming right in front of us. So
I know. All right, so let's get right to it. So I would say some of the bigger market news is on Friday. President Donald Trump announced that he lifted tariffs on beef, tomato, coffee. So some of the groceries that we've been feeling the pain on, I think about 20% higher costs over the last year. Now, the White House said the exemptions are possible because of headway made on trade negotiations, not because of the affordability crisis. But what impact do you think we will see on costs with these tariffs being lifted now?
Yeah, I think you're going to start to see some of that come down. And of course, there's two sides of it. When people talk about what the inflation costs are and really what is affordability, that's a really great conversation to have. But you think about what costs could come down, and if those costs do come down, which is a big part of the CPI calculation, you look at housing and you look at food and you look at energy, those are the things that really drive the CPI number. And they're uncomfortably high for the Federal Reserve. And so they're running just around 2.8 to 3%. Their target's 2%. They want to get it down to 2%. We'll have to see. This Fed meeting coming up, guys, is going to be pretty important. The odds of a cut have gone from 90%, almost 95%, down to about 40 to 50% coming up in December 9th and 10th. And inflation is a big part of that. As you know, Kristen, we have been in a data fog. So when that thing opens up, we're going to find out a whole lot more.
I was going to ask you about that data fog because it's for numbers like jobs and inflation. There's some members of the administration say we may never get that information back. That doesn't really help us make decisions, like cutting interest rates in the future.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so they've used as anecdotal measures. They've done some surveys, but they didn't really get the hard data. And so I really wouldn't be shocked if it's a pause in December 9th and 10th because of a data fog. But when it comes to, they have another meeting right after that in early January. So if that happens and they start to cut rates, we'll have to see. But, they are in a conundrum, and we've talked about this, Steve, for a long time. The fact is they have these two jobs, these dual mandates. It's jobs and it's inflation, and they can't ignore either one of them because if inflation stays high, the affordability conversation happens, and if the rates stay too high, we start to see more job losses, and job losses are coming from lots of things, and not just immigration, but AI as well. People are saying, I'm going to hold on job creation right now, so it's really an interesting time. One of the more probably watched Fed reports that we've seen in a while.
So speaking of AI, NVIDIA is reporting earnings this week. Now, if your expectations, you think it's going to be all things, like everything will seem normal, or do you think there's any chance of us getting a surprise that creates a ripple effect?
Yeah, they're the biggest company, as we know, is market cap almost $5 trillion. I know I told you last week how big that is. It's bigger than the French, Italian, and German stock markets added together. So isn't that crazy? So it's a big deal. And one of the things that we saw a pullback last week because of AI generally. And so, you look at the NASDAQ stocks and NVIDIA being the biggest one of them. Can AI spending stay sustainable, right? That is a big thing. So there's been a lot of spending on what could happen with AI. And then, of course, the commentary from Jensen Huang, who's the CEO. He says there's a $500 billion backlog for his chips. And so that's years out. That's not just this year. It's not the year after that. It's the following year. So there's that much of a backlog right now. And why some of this, this attitude happened over the last week is because do we have the power to generate all of these things that we need? And that was really a conversation. We may be getting ahead of the consumption and the infrastructure of power in this country.
Do you think it's a bigger story as the concerns, just general concerns, public and industry concerns about what AI could be in the future and where it goes? Or it's this battle over chips? What's bigger?
Oh, for sure, what it could be for the economy. I mean, there's just no doubt. And I know, and we joked about this a couple of weeks ago, we use it in our business. It will create opportunities. And we joked about, does it create opportunities in the radio business as well, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and of course, nothing could replace YouTube. But the reality is, That's right. You want $5 later. But yeah, there's no question what the opportunity set could be. And you look at earnings in general, and this has been a great earnings season. 95% of the companies have reported, and earnings are up 15%. I mean, that's astounding. So that's a really, really good quarter. So the market to pull back because of that is pretty interesting. And I'm sure you saw the story in the Wall Street Journal this weekend. I mean, it was a big story about, are tariffs deflationary? I mean, that has really got the whole, all of our internal reporting came out this week, and that's all they talked about was this Wall Street Journal article saying that they are deflationary. And we always joke, where did that come from? We always say, you know what that is, Kristen? That's a turtle on a fence post.
I've never heard that term before.
How did that turtle get there? How did that turtle get there? Somebody
what is the argument
put
with that? Of how? What is the argument that they're making?
That why it's deflationary?
Yeah.
Yeah, is the fact that it will create opportunities here in the country, that there'll be onshoring, that you're going to have opportunities like for China. Like China has deflation right now, right? And they have a lot of deflation, and we bring a lot of goods in from China. So are you importing deflation? And so that's really going to be the question. And the argument was, oh my God, it's so inflationary in the beginning. But then the economists started to change their argument and saying it's a one-off. Right? It's just at the very beginning, it's going to be inflationary, and then it's going to be worked into the company's balance sheets and income statements. And that's what we're starting to see is, did they just eat it the first time, but now they won't anymore? But we'll have to see. The policy changes are coming so fast that it's hard for the economists to get a hold of that. And so if you look at what the Trump administration is doing, even in the last week, we saw a change in the tariff policy. So it's very difficult to try to put that into companies' balance sheets. And imagine being a CEO in a conference room and saying, what do you want to do next quarter or next year? And you go, we don't know.
Who knows?
We don't know. Who knows? It's been tough.
All right. So in my tour of the networks that I do most Sunday mornings, I saw Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent make the claim that our beef prices are higher from something he said is related to illegal immigration and diseased cattle. From everything else I read the rest of the day trying to find out more about this, it seems that's a made-up story. I don't buy it.
It's not made up. It's just not. It's not really driving the price, right?
No.
So I think I wish I knew the name of the disease. It's like a
straw worm. Is that what it is?
Screwworm.
Yeah.
Screwworm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a crazy name like that. Anyways, that's not where the cattle's coming from. Even though it's 1%, you can't have that. You can't have it infect anything else. But it's less than 1% of the cattle that comes into the United States. Comes from Mexico. But the farmers were a little upset about the trade deal with Argentina.
Yeah.
So that's really bringing a whole lot more.
But I can tell you, Dave, it's like the number one thing. Whenever everyone sends an email about, got to talk about the economy, got to talk about prices, it's always how much a steak costs or something like that when they go to the store. And I asked my wife, Kathy, because I don't shop, yesterday, what's the cost of all this stuff? She goes, it's insane how much it costs.
Yeah. It is. It is insane. But but you go out to dinner, you can see the prices have gone out, right? With restaurants, and so that's where I started was affordability. There's two sides of that, right? So maybe it doesn't, Steve, bother you as much because you're a big time, superstar on the radio, and you make all of this money. It doesn't hurt you as much. But if you're down on the income strata and you can't get steak anymore, you're going to you've changed your products, right? And so maybe there's more hamburger, but the prices are up now. We're going to argue, and this is probably about the political ramifications of this, but you cannot argue that all of the free money and all of the liquidity that was induced into the market years ago cause some of this. Now, it's not the only reason, but it's certainly part of it. And so what we have now is we have quantitative tightening, and that has ended. Kristen, I see you making a face at me right now.
I was trying to give Steve because I have a follow-up question.
So quantitative tightening is going to end, and so next year there's going to be a lot of money floating around, right? Because there's going to be a tax stimulus is coming, and so quantitative tightening has ended.
So then, how do you think? Where do you think we're going with the conversation around the tariff stimulus checks that we were got floated last week? As far as I think Bessent had said, $2,000 for people who make under $100,000.
Right.
And How do you feel about
I'd love to see it, but they just can't. It's just one of those things that they can't do as an edict, right? That's a congressional action.
That hasn't stopped them before, Dave.
Well, but they can in this. They can't. I mean, there's some things that they can't do. This is one of them, right? And so you can't send it out unless the Congress approves it. And I think you're going to have a reconciliation bill to do that.
We have to go to, and we're going to have to let you go. But it's just as far as how the argument, as far as why would that not have the similar effect on the economy as the stimulus checks from during the COVID era?
It would. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. I'd love to see it if they could pull that off. And fine, put the Mendoza line at 100,000, but put that money out. It would have a substantial effect on the economy. Steve, you've got a year in tax planning. You're coming this week, right? So
I'm literally holding it in my hand.
All right,
Dave.
there it is.
I got
All
it.
right.
So tomorrow, I don't know if you're going to be there, but I'm going to be there with Eric Strom, Director of Financial Planning, Tom Burkholz, Senior Financial Planner, Team Lead, and yours truly, as I said, tomorrow, 1 p.m. So I literally have to do the show, drive, stay out of my way, get no traffic problems, and I'll stop at their Annex Beautiful facilities, and we'll host a webinar on tax strategy and planning, all the things you need to know. Perfect timing for this, right?
So you're coming in hot. You're coming in hot. What you need something? Coffee, soda?
A nice cup of black coffee would be perfect.
Got it. I got it. We're all in tomorrow.
So you can find it at the events page at annexwealth.com or on our page here at WTMJ.com. I look forward to it. I love meeting with the guys because they're really smart people, way smarter than me. They actually made me look bad last time because they asked me a question. I had no idea what the answer was on the webinar. So I have to redeem myself.
I'll tell them that.
Yeah.
So don't make the superstar look bad.
I'm just here to talk. They're there to answer the questions. All right. Look forward to it.
Awesome. All right. See you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, thanks,
Dave
Dave.
Spano, CEO of Annex Wealth Management. We'll do it again next month.